Hi everybody, welcome to or welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me for a brand new reaction video today. And we are back with one for the American Culture playlist as we check out all of the weird laws that the US still has today. Now, I came up with this idea for this video when the other day I stumbled across a video about all the UK's stupid, weird laws that we still actually have, that's still actually written into law today. So I thought to myself, if the UK has these weird laws, the US has to still have some incredibly weird laws. So I thought, this should be fun, should be entertaining, why not give it a go? So that's what we're going to do today, guys, and I can't check out all of the US's strangest laws without first of all telling you about some of the UK's. It seems only fair that I get to share our crazy with you before I find out about your crazy. So that's what we'll do. I'll introduce you to a few of our weird laws and then we'll head into yours. So let's go. When a whale or sturgeon becomes beached, it must be offered up to the reigning monarch. That's right, our Queen gets first dibs on any beached whales. It's actually illegal to be found drunk in the pub. Where else are we meant to get drunk? For some reason, it's illegal in Scotland for a boy under the age of 10 to see a naked mannequin. Well, there's always something creepy about a naked mannequin. That law should be extended to all ages. In the Metropolitan Police District, it is illegal to carry a plank of wood along a pavement. It's illegal to walk cows down the street in the daylight. In the UK, you are not allowed to dress up as a police officer, sailor, or soldier, even if it's for a costume party or for the purposes of stripping. It's actually breaking the law to pay with your phone at a drive-through whilst your car is still running. That's right, you break the law at every single McDonald's drive-through you ever go to. So there it is, guys, some of the crazy, bonkers, ridiculous laws that still exist here in the UK. I mean, I say they exist, they're written in law, but I believe you would struggle to find a police officer that would know that any of those laws exist. Not to mention ever actually have them enforced. So that's what we've got. That's our crazy. Now it's time to learn about your crazy. Scrap all of that. That was gash. 3, 2, 1. There it was, guys. That is some of our insane, crazy British laws that still exist, still written into law today, still in the law books. Probably a little bit too low-key to ever be enforced, but they do exist. So that's our crazy. Now it's time to check out yours. So let's go.
You're woken by a bang at the door. Open up! Come out with your hands up! You can't believe this is happening. Could you really be in trouble with federal officials over lunch meat? You might be surprised. There are a lot of laws on the books in the United States, and some are genuinely bizarre. Here are some of the craziest state and federal U.S. laws that still exist. One thing that all states have in common is laws against drunk driving. It's illegal in all 50 states to operate a motor vehicle with a blood alcohol level above a certain level. Some states expand that to other vehicles like bikes, scooters, and even tractors. But Wyoming adds a unique vehicle to that: skis. Skiing under the influence could get you charged with a misdemeanor and facing up to 20 days in jail. It makes sense a drunk skier could cause a dangerous crash that could hurt themselves or others, but how often does this happen exactly? Some laws are common sense, maybe a little too common sense. Have you ever told a friend, "I know this route so well I could find it blindfolded"? Well, you're apparently not the only one, because in Alabama, someone might have taken that challenge a little too literally. The southern state has a law on the books prohibiting driving while your vision is obscured with a blindfold. As it's unlikely to have happened too often, we're guessing that the law might have well been named after the person who inspired it. So when in Alabama, don't be a Dave. Keep your eyes on the road. Another area where a lot of strange laws come into play: our furry friends. Maybe you have a grandma who loved to knit. and she would use anything she could get her hands on to create a sweater. Well, if she lives in Delaware, there's one thing you don't have to worry about her using. It is illegal in the tiny northwestern state to sell dog or cat hair, a Class B misdemeanor to sell any part of a domestic dog or cat. This is no doubt a disappointment to the owner of Persian cats everywhere as they coat the house in a thin layer of hair every shedding season.
Wait, so that's just in Delaware. So the rest of the US you can sell cat and dog hair like it's totally normal? Let me know in the comments.
But there's nothing stopping her from knitting her own pet sheddings. But this next one might be a little harder to enforce. In the old days in Indiana, it was apparently pretty popular to have high-intensity horse races. These would often take place in public streets, which could be a danger to pedestrians. So the state passed a common-sense law, banning people from riding horses above 10 miles an hour anywhere in the state. There's just one problem. Did anyone tell the horses? They probably don't know how to read speed limits, and an out-of-control horse could mean a ticket. But with the arrival of cars, that's probably less of a worry. How fast do they go again? But at least this law protects one animal, maybe, Bigfoot, the mysterious North American megafauna, or maybe just a guy named Bob in a gorilla suit. Many people believe the missing link exists, and they go into the woods regularly searching for it. But if you're Bigfoot hunting in Washington state, better make sure that you're only armed with a camera. Since 1969, the famous cryptid has been legally protected, with shooting a Bigfoot being a felony punishable by 5 years in prison, and he's now legally classified as an endangered species. If you see him, let him know. It's not the only...
Just out of interest, have any of you ever, or do any of you ever know of anybody who claims to have seen Bigfoot? That'd be an interesting story, so if you've got it, get that one in the comments as well. Let's keep going. You're all crazy so far.
State with some strange hunting regulations. In Virginia, there's a rich hunting tradition. Sportsmen and those looking to put some game on the menu do go out daily and shoot birds and mammals in the woods, except on Sunday. This isn't uncommon, as many states have regulations preserving Sunday as a day of rest for religious reasons, but there's one exception to this no-hunting bill in Virginia. The law bans the shooting of any wild bird or wild animal, including nuisance species, on Sundays, with the exception of raccoons. Virginia really went, we hate this one species particularly. Poor trash pandas. We bet this next law never even crossed your mind. There's nothing like a frog jumping competition, right? Okay, not many people know about this sport, which involves seeing how far a frog can jump after startling it. But this can be occasionally dangerous for the frog, and California wants to make sure those heroic athletes get treated well. If a frog is killed or otherwise dies in competition, it is forbidden to eat it or use the body for any other purpose. Alas, no drowning the sorrows of losing a prize-jumping frog with an appetizer of frog legs. Few areas have more strange laws than food. In Connecticut, they take pickles seriously. When legislators were discussing how to check for good quality pickles, because really biting into a mushy pickle is pretty disgusting, they passed a law stating that any pickle sold in the state must be able to bounce when dropped on the floor. This was actually tested in 1948 when 2 pickle vendors were reported for selling pickles that were unfit for human consumption. Sure enough, their wares didn't bounce and they were arrested. But that raises the question of how safe it is to drop pickles on the floor. Did you know you could get arrested over pizza? We've probably all had it happen to us. We hear a knock at the door and there's a pizza delivery man holding a piping hot pie. But you didn't order a pizza. Maybe it was a prank, maybe it was a misprint, but now you're having an awkward argument and you probably want pizza. Well, in Louisiana, sending someone a pizza they didn't order is actually considered harassment. This applies to intentionally trying to stick someone with a pie, but an accidental address mishap could potentially result in a $500 fine as well.
What?
It's not often that a state bans banning something. In 2013, New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg was well known for his health regulations. He banned giant-sized sodas and required restaurants to post their calorie counts. Well, in Mississippi, they didn't like that. So soon afterward, they passed a law nicknamed the Anti-Bloomberg Bill that explicitly banned towns in the state from requiring nutritional information on menus. The law is still in effect 8 years later, as Mississippi takes a stand to prevent diners from knowing too much about what goes into a giant plate of barbecue. You wouldn't think a law would be needed to keep this game from getting rowdy. Ah, bingo, a nice, relaxing game of chance where the elderly come to win prizes and feel the thrill of victory. It's all fun and games, at least until Myrtle and Ethel call bingo a half second apart and the canes go flying. That's why in North Carolina it's illegal to sell or consume any alcoholic beverage in a place where bingo is being played. And it doesn't fall under a general rule banning alcohol around games of chance either. They passed a law specifically about bingo. What did Myrtle do? But they're not as strict as their neighbor to the south. South Carolina has a pretty involved juvenile justice code. Don't want those kids to get out of control after all. These laws usually don't carry hefty criminal charges, instead charging kids with status offenses, where they usually get released home to their parents and have to face a judge. Most are common sense, covering things like truancy and curfews, but the law goes out of its way to ban one popular activity, playing pinball. Maybe it was too close to gambling for their tastes, or maybe they just really don't like the song Pinball Wizard. But if you're a kid in South Carolina, stay away from those flippers.
Okay, there's got to be some rumours about that one. So if you're from South Carolina and you know where that possibly came from, you've got to let me know, because that one's way too weird to not have a folklore story about it. So let me know if you know.
But it's not the most unusual bit of recreation banned in a U.S. state. In the great state of Louisiana, there are some tough and hardy men, so tough in fact that they feel like testing themselves in the sport of bear wrestling. This is exactly what it sounds like. One or more people fighting a bear in a wrestling match. Now, we're willing to bet that not too many people do this activity twice, but enough people try to take their lives in their hands that that state had to make a crime to participate in or train a bear for a wrestling match. It carries a penalty of a fine of $500 and prison time of up to 6 months, and we're betting a strange look from the judge at sentencing. These are the oddest state laws, but the federal government gets in on the action too. Are you someone who likes to live on the edge? If you're planning on skydiving anytime soon, you should be able to do it legally. Just don't drink too much before you do it. Sure, it might be tempting to have a few and take the edge off of those nerves, but it's considered a federal crime. Who knows why? After all, what's the worst that could happen when a drunk person falls from an extreme height and has to remember to pull a parachute in time? We just hate to think about why this law was passed.
I skydived for my 18th birthday. Obviously here in the UK we can drink legally from 18 years of age. So on my 18th birthday, I was very, 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 very hungover. And at about 9 o'clock in the morning, I was woken up and told that I was going skydiving. So you can imagine how I felt. Luckily, it was a tandem, so I wasn't responsible for the parachute, which is a good job, because I was in a bad state that day. Let's keep going.
If you're a food lover, you might be surprised by just how involved the feds are in your dinner plate. You bite into an onion ring, and somehow this just doesn't taste right. Looking at it closely, it seems to be missing the ring part. The breaded circle is actually filled with diced onions. The restaurant didn't just commit a culinary faux pas, they might have committed a federal crime, violating a statute that regulates the content of onion rings and requires restaurants to disclose if they're using dried or diced onions. We don't know why the federal government got involved here, but maybe one congressman had some really bad onion rings. The government takes food seriously, including lunch meat. Have you ever eaten turkey ham? Wait, how can something be both a turkey and a ham? This popular cold cut is usually a formed cured loaf of dark meat turkey that looks a little like ham, and the government wants to make sure no one gets confused. That's why the labeling of this lunch meat is strictly regulated. The words turkey and ham can't be in different orders or fonts so that no one will think they're actually advertising pork or regular turkey. That's a lot of restrictions for meat most commonly seen as the second in 4 of a turkey variety pack. But there's one condiment that the government takes even more seriously. Nothing can ruin a sandwich or a pile of fries more than opening a bottle of ketchup and it's runny. The government agrees, so they regulate how fast the ketchup will flow out of the bottle before it can be sold. Using an instrument named a Bostwick consistometer, regulators make sure that it can't travel more than 14 centimeters in 30 seconds. If it exceeds that, it gets labeled substandard. They also regulate the name of the condiment, and any form of ketchup, catsup, or ketchup are acceptable. Who calls ketchup ketchup?
What is catsup? Now, in my head it's ketchup for cats, but that can't be right. Yeah, definitely had a ketchup. We have ketchup. I love ketchup. But what on earth is catsup? Please let me know that one. I've got to check that one out. Let's keep going.
This next law might disappoint would-be supervillains everywhere. It's illegal to influence the weather, but it's also impossible to do that, right? Well, besides singing a song when it rains, the odds are no private citizen can, but during the Vietnam War, the government was studying how to create weather events over enemy lines to disrupt their troops. This was seen by the government as very dangerous, and they did not want the information to come out. So they passed a law making it illegal to modify the weather without notifying the Secretary of Commerce, to the tune of a fine of $10,000. So now sci-fi weather machines are only the purview of the government. Yay? You probably never thought about breaking this next law, we hope. If a horse passes you by on the street and splashes you with mud, you might get a little angry. You might even be tempted to make an angry gesture, but if you do it in the wrong place, that might be a federal crime. It's illegal to make an unreasonable gesture to a passing horse on federal land, which means you can flip that horse the bird all you want on the streets of New York. But what is an unreasonable gesture is up to interpretation, which is why the federal government eventually amended the law to make it not much less vague. Just don't do anything that isn't prudent when that horse passes. The federal government is very involved with animals, but maybe no more than this next case. Falcons. Why is the federal government so interested in falcons? These smart birds can be trained by talented falconers for hunting, and the government strictly regulates how many falcons a person can own and how they must be treated. But oddly, there's also a regulation on how falconry can be portrayed in the media. Trained birds of prey cannot appear in movies unless it concerns the hobby or relevant issues involving birds of prey, and the handlers cannot be paid for the bird's role in the film. This has led filmmakers who want to use falcons in their movies to go for a simpler solution: computer-generated birds. For more on weird laws, check out crazy laws that still exist around the world, or watch this video instead.
Okay guys, there it was. Insane laws that still exist in the USA today. Now, you guys are clearly as crazy as we are with some of the laws that still exist out there today, and I would be really interested to know, have any of you ever been pulled for any of those? I highly doubt it, because they're just too weird to actually, probably just like our police officers, to be understood and for them to even know it's a law. But if you have, that is a story you've got to tell, so get that in the comments. But there's probably a lot more laws, and probably some laws that you didn't even realise. I'll see if I can find some more videos about some extra ones. Also, let me know about laws you have been pulled for, and only the ridiculous ones. Let's try and keep it light-hearted. The silly things you've done that you've been pulled for. Overnighters, more than anything. I don't want anything serious. And let's have a look at those as well. They'll be fun. Personally, I'm a good boy. I've never been pulled. Just speeding fines for me. That's all it's been, speeding fines. So yeah, that's it guys. You're crazy. The UK is crazy. We have crazy laws. So until next time, take care. Bye for now.